the people they're backing, and it makes no sense at all. And it's so I don't even know what to call it. It's insanity to even think that people think this way.
So, first of all, now we're at the hour mark, so I want to say thank you. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams and
Brian McKenzie.
And we're here on 106.3 WRFZ Rochester Free Radio. And if you're listening to us on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're listening to us on, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And if you're listening to us on radio, tell everybody you know. Listen to 106.3. Let them know about the show. Tell them, hey, we got this great show. Listen to it. Hey, even if you hate it, tell somebody and tell them to listen to it. That's what you do too. So we're here, and right now we're talking about the crazy anti-American jihadist terrorists on the campuses across our nation. It's absolutely crazy what we're dealing with right now. And we have to deal with this while we have elected officials that say nothing. They're completely silent on everything that's going on. Now, I don't know about you, but it's not okay to me when we've got these people on American soil taking American land, saying that it is an autonomous zone, flying flags of a foreign interest on those grounds, saying that they are not a part of the United States of America, and saying death to America, down with America. Can we talk about how that is openly declaring war on the United States of America? Anybody that is doing that should be treated as a wartime combatant that they have declared themselves to be. This isn't something that I'm pulling out of my nose. They've said that themselves. Now they've called for today in many cities a day of unrest and turmoil. A day of struggle. What is this, the Maoist Cultural Revolution? That's what's going on right now. This is what we need to be paying attention to. And then we've got foreign adversaries and everybody pushing and funding these people. But we also have American and Western elites that are pushing these people because it all serves one purpose: to destabilize the United States of America, to start to peel away our individual liberties and freedoms, because they know that the United States of America is the last bastion of hope to fight back against this one world united power in which they are pushing to depopulate the planet so that they may have easier and simpler control around the people. And now people will say, oh, well, why do we want depopulation? But they'll need people to be there to do the work for them. They've got machines for that. They've got AI for that. They don't need you anymore. So now more than ever, we need to be aware of the circumstances that are happening to us and the much larger picture of what's going on. As we see the inflationary crisis continue to bubble up, we saw Jamie Dimon talk about, who was the CEO of Chase, that we're moving towards tokenization, and it's going to keep going up until tokenization. Are you having a problem with your gas right now? Gas is expensive, food is expensive, rent, healthcare is expensive, everything keeps going up. This is not a mistake. This is policy. This is legislation that's being pushed by our elected officials, because the elected officials in large serve their own private interest and corporate interest, the people who are funding their campaigns and giving them backdoor deals, and the companies that are paying their cousins so that they can get kickbacks and they can take trips and cruises to islands and parts of the world that you never knew existed.
Well, you see where all the funding is coming from too, right? I mean, for all this stuff. I mean,
George Soros
and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You got
Bill and Melinda Gates. Oh my goodness,
it's insane. And there was another one too. Who was it? I can't remember. I heard it this morning though. And it was talking about. It was George Soros is the biggest one. That's
the Open Society and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yep.
Then you've got some of these Palestine things. But you also have Iran that's backing some of this. But I'm going to tell you one that people really aren't talking about, and that's China.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
China is the biggest winner out of all of this. The war in Ukraine, the war in Israel,
the open border,
the open borders, the destabilization in our country. China is the number one winner. They're laughing at it all. They're funding and financing it. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, or whatever they call their army over there. Yep. They went in and they found massive caches of Chinese weapons in Gaza.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
No. And they're like, oh, well, how'd they get these Chinese weapons?
I
You know, they just fell out of the sky. You know, they ordered them on eBay or Amazon or something, you know. I mean,
well,
so
look at the amount of Chinese nationals that are coming over the border, southern border. It's increased by tenfold, and you don't get out of China unless they let you out of China.
This is a fact. This is a fact.
If they're coming over, it is what it is. But it's unfortunate, and it can be stopped, and that's the best part. But it can only be stopped if we do something about it. Why? And why when every time a state steps up to do something about it, they get sued by the federal government?
Federal government is trash.
It's trash, and it's as big as it's ever been, and
shrink the federal government.
you got to shrink it. There's no doubt about it. I was talking about the unelected bureaucrats before you came in, and the amount people see the elected officials, their faces, but there's tenfold amount of unelected bureaucrats that have been there for their whole life in there, and
they've got their own kingdoms and fiefdoms in there. It's crazy.
They make so much more money than the people we elect, and they're just continuing to do so, and they're just going from one regime to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And what they're doing is, like you said, the destabilization of America. Anything that can be done to create unrest, to create division, is a good thing for certain politicians. And in order for them to get elected, and for order, you know, when you start to get nervous, you do some stupid things. It's that simple. Or you get desperate, you do some stupid things. And what we're seeing right now is some real stupid things being done. And it's just gonna get worse as you get to November, because they're not just gonna let this roll as the poll numbers continue to fall for you know, Biden and them on the left. They're not just gonna let it roll like that. They're not. So
man, I was watching, what was it? I watched some CNN polls. Biden's looking bad. I watched some MSNBC polls. Bad. And Biden's already lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Biden's already lost. There's no way he wins unless something miraculous or something terrible happens.
Correct.
What did MSNBC and CNN say earlier in the year? A black swan event is likely to happen this year?
Correct.
Oh my goodness. If you guys that are watching don't know what a black swan event is, it's an unpredictable event that could possibly happen. You couldn't predict that it would happen, but they've already been predicting that it would happen.
But they think it's going to happen.
Now,
probably October-ish.
You know what's very interesting? We've got three things that we should probably talk about while we got some time left on the clock. We should talk about how earlier in February, and you guys can look this up, you know, check out the Daily Mail. There's a great article in the Daily Mail about how the U.S. and China were working together to fund research into mutating and weaponizing the bird flu to make it more transmissible. Now we've got the bird flu infecting all of our beef and all of our cattle. It's called the bird flu, people. It's called the bird flu.
Yeah.
It does not go to mammalian animals. It has never done that. Now it's all of a sudden it's in all the beef. But remember, you guys can remember, we've had bird flu outbreaks before. Like that happens every couple of years. I wonder why, but that's a whole separate conversation. But the fact is, it's never happened and gotten into beef. Now they're like, oh, it's in cats. It's in cats? The bird flu is in cats? Are you serious?
Bird flu. It's in cats.
It's a bird flu. And now they're like, oh, we had the first transmission of beef to person transmission of avian flu. It's the avian flu.
Yeah.
Like, are we being serious here? Like, if we are even to have a remotely normal conversation about what's going on here, something is wrong. Hello, bird flu is for birds, not for people or for cows. Hello, it's named that way for a reason. But we can't even talk about that. Go look up the article from February. I want to say it's 26, maybe it's 16th, the 16th of this year, maybe it's the 24th of February this year. There's an article about China and America working together on what do you call it? Weaponizing and changing the avian flu. Then in March, April, you've got it coming out. All of the beef cows are getting infected with avian flu. How? Okay, don't play in my face like I'm some sort of a fool.
Right.
Okay, just so happens you were working on weaponizing it and modifying it so it's more easily transmissible, and now all of a sudden it's transmissible to beef, to animals, to meat animals. Like, are you serious? Is this what we're and they expect the American public to just go for this, and we know why they're doing it.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, it's so predictable that they call it unpredictable. But
well, you know, if you're not able to eat meat, it lowers your testosterone. It also weakens your ability to produce
and we're already
the hormones that you need.
We're already lower than we've been
right.
ever.
It makes it difficult for you to think. It makes it difficult for you to develop muscle mass. It affects fertility and everything. But what it affects brain fog, all of that. And what it's really going to do is it's going to make it more and more difficult for you to stand up against the powers that be, because they don't want you to stand up against the powers that be. Why do you think they're pushing plant-made food? And it's not coming from the ground. They're talking about it's coming from a chemical pharmaceutical
cells
fat.
And stuff like this.
You know,
merging cells.
Don't even get me started on the what do you call it? Lab grown meat.
Yeah. You can't. Don't even get that near me. God.
No, I've seen them grow it, bro. It's
Have you
terrible.
really?
It's terrible. It is the most heart-wrenching thing you will ever see. Have you ever seen an aborted fetus?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen like a 6-month-old aborted baby? Just it's terrible, right?
Not personally, I've seen plenty of pictures.
Of it. Yeah, it's terrible. It's horrible. Okay, let me tell you that it is 18 times more horrible than that. It's a group of cells that are desperately like undulating and moving and throbbing, and it looks so desperately like it's trying to become a whole organism, to just seek to be a whole life form, and it's incomplete, and it's the most horrible, heart-wrenching thing that you could ever see. It is the stuff of nightmares, people, and they want to feed it to you.
Science fiction stuff. It's disgusting.
It's or eat the bugs, right? You can eat the bugs. Eat the crickets. What is it? 100 grams of crickets equals 78 grams of protein, allegedly. It said, look, don't tell the meatheads, right? The bodybuilders and stuff. But it's not the right type of protein. You know, all protein is not equal.
No, there's plenty of different proteins. There's soy protein. There's whey protein. There's plenty of different proteins.
And they all have different effects on your body and stuff like that. But we've got that. Then we got everything else going on in the country. And I mean, if we look at that as one very serious factor that we're being distracted from, we also have to take the other issue, which is this not new anti-Semitism bill. It's allegedly anti-Semitism, but it's not anti-Semitism. So I don't know if you guys know about this, everybody that's listening. I encourage you to go look up the anti-free speech laws that have been put forth in Ireland and in Canada. Please go look those things up so you'll better understand what I'm about to be talking about. So what this law does is, now we have laws on the books right now to prevent discrimination against race, color, creed, and stuff like that. There's already laws for that. There's already equal rights and everything for that. So why do we need more laws? It's just a government trying to peel back more and more of your free speech, and they're using it as an opportunity because they're saying, oh, well, it's because of the anti-Semitism that we should put that forth. But the bill is terrible because it limits everybody's free speech. You know, you can't even talk about the Bible. You can't even say things that are uncontroversial, like the Jews killed Jesus. You can't say that. Now, hold on, because I know some of you faithful that listen to the show will be like, well, the Jews didn't kill Jesus. Jesus sacrificed himself because he needed to die for our sins so we could all be saved. Yes. I hear you and I agree with your theology. But the point stands. That's exactly what happened, okay? We're not going to mince words and stuff like that. But you can't say that. They don't want you to be able to say that. They don't want you to talk about the Bible. You can't talk about Jesus under these new laws. You guys got to be really paying attention to what's going on. More so than that, underneath the same guys, they've snuck in the crazy net neutrality laws back in. We got rid of net neutrality. We defeated that some maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe. Okay, maybe 4. Maybe it was when Trump was president that happened. But we defeated that so that they couldn't like throttle your internet when you're on certain sites and stuff like that, and give preferential treatment to certain sites and stuff like that. But also, when you look at the TikTok bill, you combine the TikTok bill with this fake anti-Semitism bill, because it's fake. It's really an anti-First Amendment bill, okay? And you look at this TikTok bill, between that and the crazy internet stuff that it's got there, that's backdoors there, that's got nothing to do with what they tell you it's about. You also got the TikTok bill where they snuck in some issues in there where basically it allows for Joe Biden to be able to deplatform anybody off of the internet, or take any apps off the internet or take any web pages off the internet that he wants to himself unilaterally forget Congress completely. Okay, unilaterally. That's not okay, people. This is a very serious problem, and people need to wake up. Stop listening to them by these things that they're naming these things and make them sound good, to make them sound like they're innocuous and that they're not a problem. The government does nothing but help its own self and its benefactors. You gotta understand, if they name something fuzzy wuzzy colors and beautiful smells and smells good, you got to be looking out and covering your rear derriere, because you're about to get bent over and you're about to get ramrodded, and they're not going to put any grease on, any lube, and definitely no oil, because you know Biden doesn't want the oil to flow. So I say all of this to alert you to what's really being done in our country, and that our own government is seeking to limit what's going on in the conversation of the people, because they know if we speak up more, if we talk to each other more, that people will start realizing, wait a minute, the government really isn't for me. Wait a minute, my representatives aren't really representing me. Wait a minute, maybe I should vote different. Wait a minute, maybe I should get active. Wait a minute, maybe I should participate in government, because nobody told me before how important it was to participate in government, because they've convinced so many people that it's not even worth bothering. But the more of us that get together, the more of us that come together, the more of us that unite, if we all stand up together, we can turn the whole table over on these people. We can take them all like a teapot, and we can take the teapot, we can turn it over, and we can pour it out. Because at this point, that's about all we've got left, you guys. That's about all we've got left. People rebelled and created America and the revolution for 2-3% tax. We're getting 40-50% tax right now. Joe Biden wants to make capital gains tax 46%, which is affecting the new people that are just starting to get upper middle class, moderately wealthy, just a little bit of wealth, okay? And that means that basically, what is capital gains? You say, okay, well, when you put an investment in, if you take the money out, okay, they charge you capital gains tax. But unless you have a lot of money in there, okay, it's difficult to take a loan against whatever the assets are that you have appreciated, so built up, of whatever assets you have built up, so that you can actually get money out of them without having to sell them. And under certain circumstances, you have to sell them regardless to get the money back. So if you sell them, then you're basically paying 50% tax on that. You're already paying 40-50% tax on your income. Then you got to pay 50% tax on any of the investments that you get. What is the government doing that's worth 50% of your money? They're not doing 50% of what I want them to do. I got to be honest, I don't know if any branch of the government is doing 5 to 10% of what I want them to do. Definitely not 50 to be taking 50% of your money, you guys. Definitely not 50% to take 50% of your investments, guys. And especially when you look at the things and the restrictions that are being put on banks. We just had another bank's collapse the other day. And it goes back to what I was talking about, the inflation. They keep printing money. Now, you guys, I know a lot of you don't understand a lot about monetary policy and inflation and the metrics and the way that works and stuff like that. Let me just be very clear. Money is on a ledger somewhere. Whatever the numbers are, the money's on a ledger somewhere, right? Whether you believe the money is real, whether you don't believe the money is real, it's neither here nor there. The money is represented somewhere on a ledger, okay? When there is more money printed up, each dollar is worth less, okay? I'll give you an example. $1 today is worth maybe 50 cents compared to what it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. You can't buy what you could. It's half. The dollar's worth half of what it was worth 20 years ago, okay? So this is, I was alive 20 years ago. You know, I like this has happened in my lifetime. Like, this is something that's very, very, very serious. And as we continue down this path, the depreciation of the dollar happens more and more faster. So you look at things like you increase minimum wage. That means more money has to be printed up. That means the cost of goods have to rise, because now you got to pay people more. Well, where are you going to get that money? Well, if you don't charge more, you're not going to get more money to pay to people. And if you have an employee, everybody knows that you need to save at least a third of the money that you make for an employee to pay the employee. So if you're paying somebody $20 an hour, that means that their production needs to be at least $60 an hour. How many people are working at McDonald's that you think are making a value worth their position $60 an hour? I'm just asking. Dairy Queen, okay? I'm just asking. You think that they're making a profit per individual, right? Per individual. You look at McDonald's, they call it a crew. They have like 5, 6 people working there. You think each individual is worth making $60 an hour? You know, and you say, well, Marcus, what if it's a high-paced McDonald's or a high-paced place like that? What if it's a little mom and pop store that has maybe 10, 15 people come in a day, that they sell mid-range goods, like the average good is somewhere between $10 to $25. You know, this is why people have to raise their prices, and then people get mad. Like, oh, there's no more dollar menu. Listen, before Biden got into office, okay, when Trump was president, and this isn't me talking about Trump, this is just me talking about the period of time. Before all of that, we had $1 McChickens and 24-hour Walmarts. We had everything. And nobody knows what a 24-hour Walmart is. No, McChicken is almost $4 or $5 now. What is going on with our country? The quality of food is going down. The quality of life is going down. And it's terrible. We need to focus on rebuilding our country, decreasing the inflation that's going on, and pushing for deflation. We need to increase the value of our dollar. And people say, oh, well, that'll affect our trade with other countries. Later, for those other countries, we need to be building stuff here anyway. If we don't have the jobs here for people to make money, for people to buy the goods that are made here, then how are we going to buy the goods that are made here? If nobody has a job, well, we'll have to tax the people that are working so that the people that aren't working can afford the goods that are made here. What sense does that make? That leads to great deterioration in society. And we've got to be able to be honest with ourselves about what's actually going on. This is all that's being done in part due to people that purposefully want to erase the middle class and the working class, because they know that as long as we maintain a healthy working and middle class, that there are those who will not kowtow to the demands of our tyrants that are running our nation. As they strip away our First Amendment, as they strip away our Bill of Rights, as they strip away the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the Seventh Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, the Ninth Amendment, the 10th Amendment. They're coming for all the amendments, especially the 10th Amendment. You know, the government the states are just making all types of rules that try to supersede government laws on the federal level. The federal government is trying to make laws that supersede the Bill of Rights. It's very, very crazy. Where we are right now is not a good place in society, and that's why it's so important, and I encourage you all to stand up and speak up. We must stand up. We must speak up. There is no future if we do not, and I promise you that if we do not, the future that will be bleak. Very bleak. That's why we must now stand up. We must speak up. And we must take action. And it's the action part that is the most important. And I encourage you guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, wherever you're watching us on, make sure that you like, share, Twitter. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, okay? Put us on your favorites and lists, on your highlights list, whatever you got. All right? And share us with your friends. And if you're listening to us on the radio, make sure you let people know every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m., you're listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams and Brian McKenzie. Make sure that you listen. Make sure that you let people know, because we are fighting forward for our country together. America united, not divided. No matter what party you are, you got to remember, it is the federal government, and in many cases, if you live in a state like New York, the state governments that are becoming repressive, tyrannical regimes that are ushering in a communist totalitarianism in which only they are able to have any power, and they are vastly consolidating power any which way that they can. And that's why we must get active, and that's why we must stand up. As we continue forward, listen, I'm gonna tell you like this. If you don't follow me on Twitter right now, follow me. It's at MARCUS, the physical digit 4, the number 4, ROC. It's the same thing on Instagram. Marcus, the digit 4, ROC on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You'll find me on Facebook. Marcus C. Williams, Marcus C. Williams for Rochester. You'll find me on there. Okay? It's very important that we start to unite together. We must unite together. If we do not, and this is regardless of your party, that's why I try to impress upon people. We might have different concerns, we might have different feelings on different issues, but we all should be able to stand on the Bill of Rights. Okay? Stand up for the Bill of Rights. And when we see somebody else's freedoms or liberties being trampled on, we should be avid to stand up for their rights as much as we will our own. And that's on principle of what our nation was founded for. That's why it's so deleterious. What would you say? What's the word for deleterious? That's why it's so bad, or what's a better phrase for deleterious? Purposefully deteriorating of something, right? So that's why it's so bad for these kids. These kids, they're not even kids, right? A kid is a baby goat. Well, maybe they are kids, because I don't think that a baby goat is very smart. Now, that just might be me, but I don't know if you guys think that a baby goat is a very smart animal. I mean, I'm sure that they have some sort of intelligence and smarts, but I don't readily think of them as the smartest peanut in the bunch, okay? So, I mean, we've got these anti-American jihadists, many of them are Americans, on American property, seeking to destabilize our own nation, saying death to America, and let's overthrow the government in favor of a communist or a socialist government. They're doing the work for the elites, and they don't even realize that they're being manipulated. It's very sad, it's very terrible, and that's why it's time for us to stand up and speak up. Because if we don't, who's going to do it for us? It's time for us right now, to speak up while we still can. Like I said, they're passing these anti-free speech laws out there, and it's really, really going to get more and more difficult to speak up. We see what happens when you try to speak up on Facebook, or you try to speak up on whatever platform you're on, and they try to deplatform you, or they shadow ban you, or they make it so nobody sees your stuff some other way, you know, or they hide your comments, which is what they're doing right now a lot. They like to hide your comments so people can't see what you're saying. This is a very, very serious place that we are in society right now, and that's why we need to actually start to get active. A great crazy thing that happened here recently, just last week, I want to say it was Wednesday. It was probably Wednesday or Thursday. So there was this boy that claims to be a girl that went into the girls' restroom and beat this girl up as she was in the bathroom stall, and drug her by her hair out of the bathroom stall, beating her in the hallway. This is a boy who identified as a girl. And the video got all out, all over the internet. It was everywhere, all over the internet. And this was like late at night that this happened. The thing happened during school hours, but the video got out like late in the evening. Then all of a sudden, magically, and this is Greece Arcadia I'm talking about. So if you live here, you know what I'm talking about. You might not know what I'm talking about, but the video is shared on my Twitter page. So look for me on Twitter. It's Marcus, the number 4 ROC. Okay, so you'll find me there, Marcus for Rochester. Watch the video, it's on there. It's a couple videos down, but you'll see it. And it's crazy to me, because the next day after that video got all across the internet and went national, then Greece Arcadia is like, oh, we're delaying school for 2 hours today because there's been a bomb threat. Lies and deceit, fakery. It's because you knew that this video got out, and now you're trying to cover your behind really quickly. A friend of mine went to go speak before the school board, for the Greece school board, about the whole issue on how she removed her kids from the school. Ashley Baptiste. Shout out to her. She's a very strong woman. I appreciate her. I love her family. They are great people. And thank you for standing up and speaking up for females, but more so for all of the children. She's a strong advocate for the children and for quality education. I appreciate her. I hope she runs for school board in the future. She is a very, very great lady and worthy of supporting if she decides to ever run. But she was talking about the craziness in the schools because they can't even protect the children. And that's not the first incident that's happened at Greece Arcadia lately. There's been quite a few of them that don't ever make it into the news because the news won't talk about it. Do you know that the news still has yet to publish a story about the boy who claims to be a girl that beat up the girl at the school? Because they're transgender. I use quote fingers. You can't see me using air quotes, but I use quote fingers because they're transgender, and you can't talk about that going on because it's not happening. Even though we have a transgender on the Rochester Institute of Technology track team, okay, that's a boy, got his wedding tackle and everything, okay, talking about he's a girl running, breaking all the types of different types of females track records, but when he was in the boys division, couldn't break a sweat, okay? Get out of town. Now, just over the weekend, he broke 2 female records. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. The erasure of women is unacceptable, the same way that the erasure of men has been happening for decades because of the wimpification, the sissification, and the pussification of males in society, which is a whole separate episode we'd have to talk about that in. But it's very, very serious. And it's crazy, you know, because we got so many people out there talking about, oh, the patriarchy, the patriarchy, the patriarchy. You mean a man that claims to be a woman that's doing women's sports? That's not the patriarchy. That's like the highest level of the patriarchy. You can't even do that, you know? And then men talking about, oh, well, I'm trans, so I get a period. No, you don't. No, you don't. Maybe you're constipated. Maybe you're insane. Maybe you need medication. Maybe you need to be locked up in a padded room. Men do not menstruate, period. Even though it's called menstruation. That's funny, right? But the point stands. It's absolutely insane. But you know, they want to get rid of that whole concept because why? Because the whole concept of period pain was the curse that was put upon Eve because Eve ate the apple and encouraged Adam to eat the apple. So that's why women have pain during birth, and that's why they have period pain. Now, just a note on that fact, if you eat healthy and you drink lots and lots of water, it will limit the period cramps that you do have if you are a woman, just FYI. But it's crazy because at the end of the day, all of it's about erasing God from everything that we do. It's about mocking God. It's about mocking Christians. But people don't want you to talk about that. And that's why this so-called fake anti-Semitic, whatever you call it, anti-Semitic legislation, pro-anti-Semitic legislation? I don't even know what you want to call it, okay? That bill is so terrible because you can't talk about Jesus. They don't want you to talk about the Bible. They don't want you to talk about the New Testament because they're trying to say, oh, well, you can't talk about that. It's crazy because they want to erase Christianity from our country, which is a Christian nation. People say, oh, well, it's Judeo-Christian. No, it's Christian. We are a Christian nation founded on Christian principles, not Judeo-Christian. Christian, period. It doesn't need a prefix on it. When you put prefixes on stuff, you are no longer Christian. Stop it. Stop doing that. Then you say Judeo values. What are Judeo values? The ones in the Torah? And where and when and how can you talk about those things? Because there are a lot of people that would be called ethnically Jewish that do not practice Judaism. Is there a difference there? When you talk about them, when you talk about that, the greatest example I could give you is George Soros, right? There's no way he's a practicing Hebrew, right? There's no way he's a practicing Jew. Okay? Not the crazy stuff that he does, not the programs that he funds. Like, these are conversations that we need to have. And like me as a Black American, that we need delineation between Black Americans and other people that cosplay as being Black Americans, okay? Like Caribbeans or Africans or whatever, because they'll be quick to tell you that they're not Black, but they'll be Black as soon as somebody's getting some money or getting something for being Black. They'll be Black then, okay? But there needs to be delineation there. There also needs to be delineation with Jews and so-called Jewish people and so-called Hebrew people, right? And Israel too, and Israelites, right? Like, are you a practicing Jew? What does anti-Semitism actually mean? Where is the line drawn? Is it because somebody is, and this is the problem with the law, you guys. This is a serious problem with the law itself. Like, it does not delineate. So, for instance, George Soros, as you heard Brian and me talking about earlier, okay, he was a Nazi. And he has openly said, you can find the video online, he's openly said when he was a Nazi, it was the best time of his life. The best time of his life. That's insane to me. And we're not talking about like a Nazi like recently in the recent year. So we're talking about Nazi, World War II Nazi, death camps and stuff. And the man was smiling about it. The man is a monster. Okay? And then you want to say because he's ethnically Jewish, you can't talk about him? Why? The man is a monster. He's funding the downfall of our country. He's also assisting in funding the enemies of Israel because it helps to serve the agenda of complete conquest in the area and push for that narrative. Because if his goal is, it's a serious issue. I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the fact of the matter is they don't want you to speak up against any of that. But they know that a lot of people that are not good claim to be Jewish, but it's really only that they're ethnically Jewish, not that they're practicing Jews, and we need to delineate between that. Okay? If many of them were following the Torah the way that they're supposed to be following the Torah, but no, they'll follow the Talmud, right? There's many places in the Talmud where it goes completely against the Torah, so I don't even understand. And I'm working on learning more and understanding more. My Hebrew is not so bueno, okay? I can read it a little bit and I can speak it very much less, but I'm working on it, okay? But it's crazy because if you turn back, honestly, to the teachings of the Torah, most people wouldn't have half the problems that they have now. I'm just saying, and nobody wants to talk about that. Somebody probably gonna get mad at that, but I said what I said. Turn back to the actual teachings of the Torah, and then you won't have half of the problems that you got. Okay, and I'm Old Testament. Okay, I'm an Old Testament Christian. I love the Old Testament, so I stand by that. I say the same thing to Christians too. You know, if we stick to biblical values and stuff like that and virtues, we'd be much better off as Christians as well. But many people, Christian or Jewish, okay, are all for this debauchery, the drug use, the drinking, the alcoholism, the tatification of the world, that whole over there, if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's like a slur, like a slut whore, okay? Like it's that type of behavior in which you act like you don't have a father, or maybe you don't have a father, but you don't have any value and self-worth, where you're just sexually promiscuous and all of this stuff, and doing all these drugs and stuff like that, and listening and promoting crazy stuff that is anti-scriptural. Anti-scriptural. And I can't even get into the real topic that I'd like to talk about that's anti-scriptural, because people will really come for me, okay, on the radio, and I don't want to have them problems right now, because I don't know how it would affect the radio station. But the fact of the matter is that if we go back and we actually read the Old Testament and we stick to the Old Testament, or we read the New Testament and we stick to the New Testament, we as a nation would be much better off. Israel as a nation would be much better off, okay? All this new wave Christianity, all this new wave Judaism is destroying our world. It's destroying our world. And it's destroying all of the people that are living in it. It's largely nothing but Satanism. This new wave Judaism, this new wave Christianity, all of it is largely satanic. That's why they push all this alphabetism. That's why they push all of these social issues and stuff like that. That's why they try to tell you, oh, you're a victim of everything. Please, okay? Get out of town, Okay, this is what's going on. And as we see that Satanism creeps more and more into everyday religion, okay, it becomes more and more of a big problem. And we, as religious faithful, need to stand up, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whatever. Okay, you need to be standing up, especially if you're Catholic or Orthodox. Don't get me started. I'm glad to see a lot of the Orthodox are standing up and some of the Catholics are starting to stand up, but that's very important. But if you're Christian, I'm going to speak specifically to the Christians right now. If you're Christian and you're listening to this, you need to be evangelizing and you need to be telling people about the good news and how Jesus died for our sins so that we can have everlasting life. Okay, so that our souls may be saved from damnation. Okay, from eternally being separated from the Lord. Okay, we need to be out there preaching the gospel. We see how dark it is. As Christians, we are supposed to be the light to the world to show them that the darkness exists. We need to be standing up. We need to be engaging our elected officials on biblical principles. If they are putting forth laws that are against biblical principles, you need to be at them. Okay, you need to be telling them, writing them letters, calling them on the phone, saying, hey, this ain't right, this ain't right. Or if you see something wrong, hey, this is what I want changed, this is what I want changed. You need to be proposing bills. This is what needs to be changed, because it needs to be biblically scriptural. And I know you guys know me, I'm very libertarian on most things, but this is something that we cannot get away from. Conservative values are very important, but more so than that, Christian values are very important. What has been happening in our nation is they have been taking the Lord, our Father, out of everything, and they've taken Jesus Christ out of everything. Okay, Yeshua, or however you want to say it, okay, however you prefer. It's crazy. Because when you take God out of morality, you open up the room for sin, you open up the room for the devil to creep in, you open up room for people to say, well, let's maneuver it just a little bit so everything else is more acceptable. We should accept everything and all of this. No. If it's against biblical scripture, you should not be accepting it. No. You think these Muslims accept that stuff that goes against the Quran? Absolutely not. And you look at places where they've taken over parts of the country, taken over the political system, they immediately shut that stuff down. They had, like, I think we talked about this last week maybe, in I want to say it was Dearborn, Michigan, where they elected a whole city council that was Muslim, and then they banned the pride flag. Like, y'all don't know what y'all doing, and now everybody out here, everybody all of a sudden is a fake Muslim. That's dangerous. That is very, very dangerous, because they don't know what they're on about. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. And that's why you see all this extremism out there now on these college campuses. They're nothing but anti-American jihadist extremists. And there ain't no Lord in them. Those people need Jesus. If you are a Christian and you're on a college campus and you got them people on your campus, y'all need to be preaching Jesus to them. If you're a Christian and you got a college campus around you that's going on, you need to be preaching Jesus to them. Okay? If you are an American and you are a red-blooded American and you care about our country, you need to be standing up against these anti-American jihadist terrorists in our nation, because it will only get worse if they are encouraged to continue on. And with that, I'm going to tell you this as we get ready to leave. I got a couple more things for you before we leave. But as we get ready to leave and close out for the day, I'm going to tell you, like, subscribe, share, okay? Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, Marcus C. Williams. Just search me on the internet, you'll find me, okay? Follow us. Share our stuff so that we can get the word out about what needs to be done. There's important work that needs to be done here in our nation. But it's only going to come from us starting to unite together, because it is the federal government and many of the state governments, including New York State, that are dividing us more and more and more based on race, color, creed, whatever you want to call identity. Now they got all these furry nonsenses and stuff like that, which is crazy, right? Because furry used to be people that like to dress up as mascots and stuff and do debaucherous, weird stuff like that. And now furries become like, you think you're an animal and stuff like that, and that's completely changed that. And now it's crazy how they do the the BDSM community and stuff like that, and associated with all the alphabetism. It's all crazy. It's all crazy. It's all anti-scriptural. It's all demonic. And that's what they're pushing for. Because if you do not know yourself, then you're more easily susceptible to evil to creep in. If you do not know the Lord and you have that emptiness in your heart, then you're easier for evil to incept its way inside of you. And I encourage you, anybody that's listening to this and you have an empty longing in your heart and you're not sure about what's going on in the world, turn to your Bible, open your Bible, start reading your Bible. If you don't have one, go get one. Okay, you can go to almost any hotel or motel and ask for one and they'll give you one for free. It's almost any church you can get one for free. Okay, it's very, very important that we turn back to what our values as a nation were founded upon, and that's Christianity. Because if we don't, the evil is going to continue to grow. That's why you see the crime. That's why you see the broken families. That's why you see the fatherless children. Okay, that's why you see them killing so many babies and then telling you it's good. But if killing so many babies is so good, then why do they need illegal aliens to come in here? Because we're not having enough babies. You make it make sense to me. See, that just doesn't make sense. But then they'll give the illegal aliens money for them to live, but they won't give you money if you have a kid. Make that make sense to me, people. The money that they're giving these illegal aliens, they should be giving you to have babies. Make more babies, people. Make more babies, or we're going to be outbred. And that's another serious issue. Okay? Right now, Christians are being outbred by Muslims in this nation. Right now, black people are being pushed to extinction because of abortion. 5,000 black babies, black American babies in America are killed every single day due to abortion. Black people are not having enough kids to even reach replacement rate, and we're going to go extinct in another 2 generations if we don't start having massive amounts of more kids. We need to have at least 4 to 5 kids per group of parents. This is ever so serious. And I'm talking about Christians and I'm talking about black Americans. It's very, very serious. Otherwise, we're going to be outbred and we will be in serious peril. Okay? So I'll catch you guys next Monday. Make sure you tune in 2:30 every Monday, 2:30 to 4 on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3. If you want to advertise with us, hit me up. You'll find me online. Okay, reach out to me and we'll help make an advertising thing for you so you can advertise and help support the show and what we're doing. Because it's going to be up to us to speak up. But to get our voices to go out further for more people to hear us, we need your support. And we love you all, okay? And I got to encourage you guys one last time. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. I'll catch you next week. Stay strong. Hey guys, I know we missed a little bit of time earlier, and for whatever reason, I'd love to respond to all these comments. Tommy, I see you. I hope you're subscribed. Unfortunately, when I switch it over to a regular video, it refuses to let me keep the chats that were in the live stream. I don't know why it does that. I guess it's because it doesn't love us, but I'll catch you guys later. Remember, check us out next week and follow my pages online. You guys be blessed, be well.